I'm live here on Jess FM and Jess TV, coming to you from Lethbridge, Alberta, of course, as usual. But what's not usual is we have a very special guest on the show this evening. It's Mr. Jerry Rubin. Jerry is a lifelong activist in the areas of environment, political, and of course, human rights and civic rights throughout the greater Los Angeles region. His impact, though, reaches far further with his different advocacy and other activist work. Of course, it's impacted in the positive way the environment for future generations. And of course, this is a legacy that he leaves after decades upon decades of his hard work to make sure that not only are the forests green and there for future generations to enjoy, but of course, he is also a peace advocate who is not a fan of Donald Trump, we'll put it lightly, of course, but also that he has championed for things such as a nuclear and against that to try and bring peace to the world. So again, his different perspectives are very unique in his own from a lifelong of advocacy and activism work. Now, what makes it even greater is that Jerry was married and, of course, true to heart. He and his wife actually got married. I believe, Jerry, we've got you on the line here, but I believe that you and your wife got married at a protest at a tree event.
That's correct. We were married on June 12th, 1983 in Santa Monica in the Palisades Park at a tree we planted called the Children's Tree of Life. And it was on the first anniversary of the world's largest ever peace rally that had taken place in Central Park, New York, 2 years before. There were 1 million people gathered, and that's why we were married on that day.
That's amazing, and of course, just to give a bit of context for our listeners and our viewers here. Of course, I've known Jerry since the early 1990s. We became friends in different work that we were doing. Him and myself crossed paths fighting for the rights of the homeless in Santa Monica. And we attended many of city council meetings, being a thorn in the side of the politicians, and of course raising concerns about how the homeless were being treated throughout the city of Santa Monica, and of course by the local police force who were trying to force the homeless out of the parks. But when they have nowhere to go, of course, that is a challenge. Jerry, it's also something that you hold dear to your heart, that you are still advocating for, responsible replacement of the homeless. And of course, the need for further homes to be built that are for low income, as well as shelter space, and something still that you're doing to this day, I believe.
Well, you're right. It's been an ongoing dilemma throughout the country. Santa Monica's been doing a lot to provide housing first alternatives, provide social services, agencies, help. But it's pretty rough. There's some people who are optimistic the homeless are violate their civil liberties. So it's always a challenge. The Santa Monica is doing a good job, and it's still a challenging job, and it's worked out in regional ways. The effort still continues.
Absolutely, and we're seeing the same issues in Canada that of course, they are having across the U.S. when it comes to the homeless, when it comes to the housing crisis, and of course, affordability is a big one for everyone, whether it is here in Canada or across the border on your side. Now, of course, sorry, go ahead, Jerry.
No, go ahead. You were doing good.
Well, I try. As my parents used to tell me I talk too much, but they never did tell me I could actually make a living at it, Jerry, I tell you. Now, I think it's important as we kick off the show here, of course, to bring up the point that we are talking with Jerry Rubin, lifelong activist, but not to be confused with the other Jerry Rubin, who passed away in 1994, who was a figure of national radicalism, known for his work with Abby Hoffman and his appearance before the House Un-American Activities Committee in a Revolutionary War uniform, because he liked to make a statement. And some say that he went from yippie to yuppie as a Wall Street focused businessman in his later years there. But in contrast, of course, you, Jerry, you remain steadfastly committed to grassroots activism. You've eschewed the pursuit of capital instead for a life of modest and cause-driven advocacy, which I really have always respected about that. Is that, even when you were running several times for city council there in Santa Monica, you did so without raising money because, again, you wanted to make sure that it kept the corporate influence out of your campaign.
Well, first of all, I appreciate. I was just going to let your audience know that I'm not the original Jerry Rubin, and I've been doing that every day since it's that's while he was jaywalking back in November 14th in Los Angeles at the corner of Wilshire and Shelby. He was hit by a car while jaywalking. He was in a coma at UCLA Hospital for 2 weeks before finally passing away. Now, we had just done an interview on KBC Talk Radio a few months earlier, and it was kind of funny in a way. Jerry said, half-jokingly, that he would offer me $10,000 if I would change my name because he felt it was hurting him in some way because, there were articles in the paper saying I was broke and he wasn't broke. $10,000. And then he comically said he would give me $20,000 if I changed my name to Tom Gates.
And of course, some of or a lot of our audience may not be familiar with Tom Hayden, but again, it's going back a few years in terms of the many different activism causes that were there in the day, of course.
So, Tom, I think, is one of the best activists and California legislators and office ever. I mean, throughout the years, and he spoke as this endeavor I did that John Fawns about that I wanted to do called the Activist Support Program. It's the nation's first emotional support group for progressive activists to help guard against activist burnout. And I think the last thought that Tom Hayes did before he sadly passed away, and kind of strange in a way, I have the same name as the original Jerry Rubin, but I also have the same birthday as Tom Hayes.
It's funny how the world turns and crosses that way, right?
Yeah, and when I listen to some of the old talks, the Yippee Yuppie debate with Jerry versus Abby, Jerry Rubin versus Abby Hoffman, I found it very educational, and they both seem to make a lot of sense. So I always try to promote win-win solutions. I think Jerry was a good guy. I don't see him as a sellout, even though people kind of think I like to hear that. I don't. He was always supportive of the work I did, and he always maintained his anti-war sentiment. In fact, on the radio show, the conservative talk show host tried to get him to admit that he had been mistaken in opposing the Vietnam War, and now that he's secured, he'd like to apologize. And he basically said, hey, that's the best thing I ever did in my life. I'm not sorry at all. I continue to think that was a dirty, rotten, illegal war, and I'm not sorry at all. So I kind of cherish the memory of Jerry, and I know people say, well, he had made a lot of money and sell out. But, a lot of people have a lot of money. James Foster has a lot of money. A lot of people have, but they do good with it.
That's right, yeah. Absolutely, and that's one of the things that many people tend to overlook is they see people with money and they just assume that that they've sold out to the corporate entities, or they just have their different opinions. But what they're not looking at is the bigger picture and how that money can actually create good in the world. And I mean, there's not everybody that can get out there and make a change for the better, like you've been able to do your whole life without being a billionaire. And so there's different levels of which people can have influence in how the world is hopefully improved over over decades. But of course, we see some step backwards in some areas as well. But overall, I'd like to think that everyone has good in them, and that's something that I've always lived my life by.
I think that's worth the wisdom, James. And I'm trying to work on a book now about my activism. I'm 82 now, and recently to Philadelphia. That my whole life I've been one of activism. I'm kind of a latecomer. I still remember my father calling me when I was living in Venice Beach back in 1968 when Jerry Rubin and Abby Hoffman and Tom Hayes and Dave Dillinger and all the others were protesting in Chicago, and he must have seen it on TV, and he said, Jerry, what the hell are you doing in Chicago? And Dad, that's not me. I don't know who that guy is or anything. I hadn't met him. I had come out to Philadelphia to Venice Beach on July 4th, 1967. I was kind of like the Fonz, if anybody remembers him.
Yeah.
Back then, a black leather jacket, a cigarette hanging out of his hand. Anyhow, then a young woman came up and gave me a flower and had a blue denim jacket. And somehow I was taken aback by it and it struck me. But what happened that night when the fireworks were going off on July 4th? Someone convinced me and got up in my arms and crystal methamphetamine.
Right.
It wasn't until a dozen years later, after 18 hospitals and 5 suicide attempts, that I was lucky enough to get involved with the peace and environmental movement. So I owe a lot to Mother Earth, and I'm fortunate to be alive.
Yeah, and that's part of your story that I was familiar with, and knowing that you grew up in a Jewish family in Philadelphia. You moved out to Los Angeles with the shiny, bright lights of California, but you did go through a very tough time. I understand that the big catalyst for change and your sobriety was seeing a very close friend of yours passing away by overdose on an apartment floor in Venice Beach, and it was right near the Jewish New Year of Rosh Hashanah, and that was your catalyst.
Oh, absolutely! That'll be ingrained in me forever. I was trying to kick the drugs. I was still living in Venice, and a couple of my two best friends asked to take a shoot up some heroin in my small place, and I didn't want to do it, but I couldn't talk them out of it. I mean, somehow it happened, and 5 minutes later, my friend was lying dead in an overdose on my living room rug. I was taken down to the police station to be booked for murder.
Wow.
My other friend had left. Anyhow, it's a long story, and they found this and that and all that. But I used to call my friend, and you wouldn't have known he was a heroin addict. He had a very respectful job
right.
to do optometry, and I called him on the Jewish holiday of Rosh Hashanah. Every year I called his parents. And then my best friend that had left and said, don't say I was here, he was found dead in a stolen car near Santa Monica College a week later.
Wow.
Best friend, I overdosed, and somehow I got lucky. And somebody turned me on to a chiropractor healer, and I went there in Westwood, and it was unbelievable what happened. I had epileptic seizures since I was 12 years old, and this chiropractor healer, just one visit, cured my epileptic seizures. I had never had a seizure or taken any seizure medicine since that time. My head cleared up. I walked over to Santa Monica College. The counselor took me under her arm, got me involved in writing for the school newspaper, taking some political science classes, getting involved with the student government, and all that stuff. And I don't know, I had thought the epilepsy was uncurable, but
right.
happened. And something was unbelievable. I'm getting to become my wife, Marissa. And we were married for 40 years as peace partners. And she passed away, it'll be 4 years ago, coming up soon. And seems like just the other day, I think about her every day, I still wear the wedding ring that she had on her finger, that she designed with the peace symbol and the heart, the peace and love together. And she put it on my hand just a few days before she took her last breath. So we always be together. She's a wonderful woman. The city planting a tree in her memory called the Virtue of Gratitude. But that was the thing she tried to instill in everyone, that no matter how bad things look, or how bad things are in your life, there's always going to be something good that you can find and to hold that thought and have gratitude for it. And I can't remember ever any negative thing that my wife ever said.
Yeah, I remember your wife many years back. We were all just a little bit younger back then, but she always was a kind heart and a gentle soul and just an amazing lady. So again, I mean, I can't. I look at the world as it is today, Jerry, and I can't see as many people getting through. I'm sure the ups and the downs of marriage, but you and Marissa, you just loved each other and you were partners in what you did. And do you think that is one of the secrets to why you guys were together for 4 years? Because you were able to work together that way?
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't imagine. And, there are a few other women that I've seen in the past 4 years, and, but, every relationship is different, and, some people would rather be single their whole life because some people would. To me, it's almost amazing that Marissa could tolerate me for 40 years. Unbelievable. I mean, hundreds of people in those 40 years, every time they met her, they take me aside and they say, Jerry, you are such a lucky guy. So it became standard. I was saying, you're right, I know. And I said, they were right. I'm really lucky, and I'm lucky to be an activist. And Marissa helps in so many ways. She's an art therapist, did fine art and poetry, and did all of this stuff for all of our causes. We've done remembrances with George Harrison and John Lennon over the years, and we have remembrances for them in front of Capitol Records and the Hollywood Walk of Fame stars. And Marissa did all of the artwork. She did the artwork when we were trying to and succeeding in saving Paul Conrad's landmark chain reaction sculpture. She did all the artwork for our activist support service. She did so many things. Okay.
Absolutely, and that's something that I wanted to bring up was the sculpture. If you want to let our viewers know a bit about this, and our listeners, because this was actually the big mushroom cloud statue that is in Santa Monica. It was getting into, we'll say, more of a decrepit era, and they were looking at removing it. So, if you want to just take it from there, Gary, and let our audience know about that.
Oh, I will. First of all, I'll go back to before it was erected, created.
Absolutely.
And it's late, amazing, maybe the best political cartoonist ever. The 3-time Pulitzer Prize winning political cartoonist for the LA Times, Paul Conrad. And he designed this 26-foot tall nuclear mushroom cloud sculpture made out of chain link called chain reaction. And he inscribed, he said, this is statement of peace. May it never become an epitaph. It was a warning monument. And he had a prototype, and me and another fellow that was on the one of the other art commissions, we go around to the art commission to get their okay to advise the city council to accept what was going to be a gift to the city, a public art gift.
Right.
And it turned out that after they voted to recommend to the council to accept this gift, it was still a close vote. And it was a 4-3 vote, and I'm really vote and accepted the gift, so we never would have had this sculpture. And it turned out, I found out many, many years later, that the money to create this was donated by Jones Rock, who had inherited the billions of dollars from the McDonald's fortune.
Right.
He used to work at James Paul contract $250,000 to erect this wonderful sculpture. He gave a lot of other money to help the peace movement, to help NCR, the Salvation Army, all kinds of things. The McDonald's people weren't happy with it. There's a book called Creating Jones that Lisa Napoli, that worked with KCRW Radio, did about Jones Project. On the front page, it talks about how she came about doing this book because she was covering when they were trying to save the James Reaction sculpture. And no one had written a book about Jones Project. So
Right.
this James Reaction sculpture, the city was saying was in danger because kids were climbing on it. I never saw anybody climb on it. But when I walked by there hundreds of times, and the city said it was, and it was weak, and they estimated it to be about $400,000 to fix it. So I remember there was a meeting at the East Wing of the Civic Auditorium, which we have to work to save now too. That seems to be interesting. And we got a break from one of the arts commissioners said, you're going to see a test of public art sculpture. And they gave us a couple months to see if we could raise some money to help out because they didn't have money to repair it.
Right.
My wife was the first one to sign $100 check, and then people started coming in, and it turns out over the years that more people came in. Northern Lear kicked in $25,000, and we ended up raising $100,000. The city manager at the time said, "Keep up your work, and we're going to save it." And they not only saved it, but it has a beautiful peace garden around it.
Nice.
Sustainable plants, and it even looks better. And it's there, and it's even needed now more than ever. When you have the nuclear, the midnight, 2 minutes to midnight, the nuclear clock,
Yeah.
the bulletin of atomic scientists keep, and Putin threatening nuclear weapons. My God, this is a message that's still needed now, today.
Absolutely. I mean, between Putin and then you have Israel, you have things going on in so many regions of the world that, it would have been hoped that with your work, the anti-nuclear protests and activism back in the day, and everything you've done now, I mean, did you think that you would ever see us going backwards as we seem to be doing in this era?
Absolutely not in the way that Trump has taken us backwards. My goodness, I haven't seen it. I've been doing activist work and organizing hundreds of events and even setting up a bumper sticker table when I can on the weekends. So I've been in touch with a lot of people from the public all over the country and all over the world here. And, we're going to protest. It has to be nonpartisan, and if people, if they deserve to be criticized, they criticize. So with Trump, it's just a mind-boggling thing.
Yeah.
I think it's one thing, these are good quality. In fact, I'll offer anybody in your listening audience $100 to say, if you say even one good quality about it, you can't say it's a good businessman. That doesn't count. It's a crook. That doesn't make you a good businessman. And it doesn't count to say, well, it's a good liar.
Well, I don't even think we can say that anymore, Jerry, because he can't even keep track of the lies that he tells. A good liar would know how to recall them.
I believe me, it's pretty hard for me. It's always hard just to routinely compare anybody to Adolf Hitler. But he used the word Nazi. I'm very careful about that. It's a horrible thing.
Right.
I can guarantee you he is approaching that, and his crookedness and his narcissism, those two qualities merged together, make him a potential dictator that might be the worst ever, given if he's able to continue. And I really feel if we're going to do the right thing, we have to do it through democratic means, and we have to be prepared to have the biggest turnout in the midterm elections and the biggest turnout ever at the March 28th 13th protest. In fact, I was just remembering Rob Reiner. He spoke right in Santa Monica at the protest we had, the last 13th protest. And he said he was going to be with us through the whole way. Practically, that's going to happen. They're in spirit. So we need to come out. We can't set debate. We can't be promoting violence. We have to show that we're going to preserve our democracy. We're going to save Lady Liberty. We're going to work for even strengthening our democracy in the future and repairing the damage. It'll take years. The more we repair the damage, I believe, that Trump has done. This will be a huge speed bump in the history book. But I think we're going to win. Democracy is too important to abandon.
Absolutely, and I completely agree with you on that point. And as my listeners know, I am a big part of holding Trump accountable in my shows. That's a common thread. I just find that what he is doing to the reputation of America is disgusting. What he's doing to people in terms of human rights abuses, and there in the U.S. with civil rights, I think he has taken the nation back decades from all of the improvements that have been made over the generations, and unfortunately, it's going to take time to heal and to restore the trust that's being just chiseled away in government. With that said, of course, we know that there's a lot to be, said about the people that are supporting him and ongoing. And to me, it's just, I respect everybody's right to support any political opinion or any political person, whether I like them or not, whether I agree with policies or not. But again, this is one that it seems to be really testing the patience of not just the nation, but the world, no matter what side of the spectrum you're on. And I know that I've never seen anything like this geopolitical situation that we're in now, Jerry.
Well, I think that it's going to be rough. I'm not an expert political consultant, but my advice is to vote blue, vote Democrat. Don't fight amongst ourselves. I think that's an important concept. I think Bernie understands it. I think others do.
Yeah.
And you have to know how to through this must become a progressive value. We have to win, take back the House. My feeling is we don't have to decide who will be the Democratic presidential candidate in 2028 until we complete the job this November. So let's complete that job first things first, and then we'll go through a primary. And I believe we will win because we must win. How's that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's an urgency there, that's for sure. And with your, just to kind of bring us back into something else there, Jerry, that I wanted to touch on, just a lot of my passion goes around educating and awareness internationally. I've written books on violence prevention and intervention strategies, so I couldn't go further without bringing up your No Toy Guns Merit Award project.
Oh, my gosh, that was wonderful. And Melissa was signing one with her beautiful calligraphy, and we handed out so many. But before we did that, we used to give out teddy bears.
Yeah, let's take it back just a step there, Jerry. If you want to explain to people what the No Toy Gun Merit Award Project is, because most of our viewers and listeners don't know about what it was to start with.
Absolutely, and it's a way of rewarding, if you will, with the Merit Award, kids and families that decide to not play with toy guns. In other words, like when we turn in a toy gun, or if you just don't have a toy gun and don't use it, award. I remember getting merit awards when I was a kid that kind of made me feel good that I was doing good. And they're easy to Xerox, and you could get them, and you could put the name of your group on it. It doesn't have to be the name of our group.
Right.
You can do it. And I think it's a wonderful thing. And before that, we had 5,000 heads there that was next to our place of session. I mean, it was unbelievable. Our living room looked like a barrack. They had these realistic looking toy guns all over the country because we had this publicity and we were getting help. Michelle Phillips was helping us. Remember, her, the mom of the father.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Or a good friend and a wonderful person. Right. We got these toys, and then my wife said, why not ask the kids, with the help of their parents, if they're too young, to send in a little letter saying why I like teddy bears better than toy guns.
Right.
Thousands of wonderful letters, and we spent all day just putting the teddy bear in an envelope, mailed it around, and then the teddy bears ran out, and we thought, my God. And so we thought of the idea of the merit award was to keep more equally reproduced. And
Right.
don't run out of it. So that's still available.
Well, and I think that in today's day and age, to a point, I think that the Merit Awards, because it's taking a combination of the original concept, but bringing it to a new era where people can get the Merit Award online, printed off, and it's more instantaneous. And we know that with today's society, people are more about the self-gratification in immediacy as opposed to the down the road sort of thing. So I think that might even be a benefit, Gary. What do you think?
That's good. I was going to say that. And you can frame it too. You know, you can get it and you can have an award for the kids. And, you know, it's just a great way to do it. So I encourage it. And as Gandhi said, if we ever want to have peace on this planet, we have to begin with the children. So it's a good way to do that.
Absolutely, and I think that you were, just spot on in terms of the introduction of the big toy guns and gun violence, pretending to shoot your friends and your schoolmates, and that when you are playing as a child, and how that can have a certain level of desensitization for someone who may be already preempted or have a predisposition to violence. It's not going to create a monster, but for someone who maybe have an imbalance in the chemicals of the mind, that it could actually be a contributing factor in the very long term in terms of that impression. What do you think, Gary?
Exactly. That's the exact truth about it. It doesn't serve as a catharsis to children's aggression. That kind of approach that Bruno Bettelheim has is good and it's proved by all of the people. Everybody understands how it desensitizes kids, but there's all this other thing. I want to tell you a little story. You know Ron Rubin, right?
Yes, yeah.
Born on the 4th of July. He came to a meltdown of the toy gun, and Michelle Phillips was there, and Michelle Phillips was Drew Barrymore, and Drew Barrymore was 12 years old. And at the time, Ron told that he kind of melted down the toy gun. We put them in tin foil, though, so it wouldn't create toxicity.
Right.
It was a great event. All the TV cameras were there. The Ron said that finalizing the film, born on the 4th of July, and he says, I'm going to make sure that there's a statement in there about the toy gun. And if you ever see that wonderful film, Born on the 4th of July.
Yeah, it was amazing, yes.
The opening scene is little 10-year-old Ron Rubin playing with his friends and pretending to shoot and kill each other.
Right.
And you're like, why did he even to pretend to kill a friend? And so he shows how that was, and then segued to the other stuff. So he got that in, that's the promise.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how when you look at the, I don't want to say combination, but the ability for art to influence society in different ways, and motion pictures, music, all of that can have such a powerful message of positivity, and of course, unfortunately the other way too. But Uh, what would you say that the most positive kind of moment in motion pictures or television has ever stuck with you?
Oh my God! I mean, there's so many you think.
Yeah.
I mean, after seeing One on the Fourth of July, you're thinking, how could it we ever go to war again? Right?
Yeah.
After seeing the film Gandhi, my God, and I always try to say one thing to people when they say, "What have you done? How have you made a difference?" I always try to say, there's millions and millions of people promoting peace over the decades and decades and decades.
Yeah.
And if they weren't out there doing all this, the truth of the matter is the world probably would have blown up many years ago.
That's so
But
true.
help save the world, and you might not even know. So all I can say is that the South is a challenge, as the ACLU always said when you're fighting for your civil liberties, and if they say it's always an ongoing battle. You can never let up. There's always going to be someone who's going to try to take it away. And the same thing goes with war and peace. We're going to always have to be promoting why peace is better, why love is better, why mutual cooperation is better than violence and warfare and destruction and hatred and racism and sexism and homophobia and all the other things that Trump is like a banner child for.
Yeah, it's scary to look at how we seem to be going backwards. And speaking of over time, though, and impacts, I really wanted to bring up the fact that with all of your activism, whether it was the anti-nuclear movement, whether it was to do with the chain reaction or other movements that have happened over the years, you're quite well known for fasting. And from what I understand, you fasted now, you're looking at about 40 times and once for actually 25 weeks. And that was to save the sculpture, another time for 100 days just to reflect on your life. As we're all getting up there. I understand that if I'm not mistaken, you're what, 82 now, Jerry?
I'm 82, and I've been on over 40, 45 fasts. I'm the longest one of the big fasts, believe it or not, for 6 months. I don't know, it sounds crazy. It's the truth, though. I mean, sure, I mixed it with a little vitamin powder and this and that.
Yeah, of course.
I haven't done any fasting in a long time, and there's a lot of activism that, I want to get back out and do, and support everybody that's doing it. I don't want to make an excuse for my age. I mean, I'm still going to get out there and do what I can, and I urge people to get involved, to be active. You don't have to go to every meeting to call yourself an activist. You can be an activist and say you're an activist because you care about something and go and do it. There it is. So that's why I added peace activist as my middle name when I turned 60 years old.
That's awesome.
As a gift to myself to remind me of the responsibility that I have in an ongoing way to always actively promote peace. So that's my name, Jerry Peace Activist Rubin. It's on my ID, it's on my voter registration.
That's amazing. I didn't realize you actually had legally put that in there. So that's just amazing that it's on your identification and everything.
To be there because of the recent thing he discussed. He's trying to deny me. But I thought I did pretty good at arguing the case. And I eventually got my name changed, even though he was going to try to deny it.
That's amazing. And of course, you've never been one to shy away from a challenge, and whether that takes you to the city hall chambers in Santa Monica or the Supreme Court of California. I mean, you've always been a fighter for freedom of speech for so many different things. And there was that one case where it was a freedom of speech case, I believe it was, that you took right to the California Supreme Court to protect the rights. Is that correct?
Well, we took it to the U.S. Supreme Court, and it was a 3-year battle. What it was I wanted to list myself, and I was on the city council, as a peace activist, as my job. And people could say they're a teacher or a businessman.
Yeah.
And I felt my job was legitimately as a peace activist. And the city clerk said, you can't say that. I said, why not? They said, well, activist is not a job. It's a condition, like husband or wife. And we had disagreements. There were like the Sierra Club outside for environmental activists, the job, California advertising. And there were many attorneys that agreed with us that we lost in court. And when we went to the appeals court, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, we lost the day, unbeknownst to me and my attorney. Someone on the Ninth Circuit thought it was such a poor decision. It thought it an en banc decision, and we had an en banc rule by an 11-member panel from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And that rarely happens. It even rarely happens if you request an en banc hearing of the appeals court to someone on that court, and you don't know who it is, so you stand it in it. They felt that it was unjust that I was denied that listing on the election ballot. And then finally, my attorney told me how he's been doing the work pro bono for years, but he's running out of money. And I took everything out of my bank account to do what they require to get to the Supreme Court. You have to go. There's only 3 or 4 places in the country.
Right.
Bring up these special booklets. And so I put that enough money to give to him because I figured he was so nice at doing the work that I could carry it through to a logical conclusion, even though it was chance to be a mill that they were going to hear our case. And they did, but they rarely hear cases that have been filed to the Supreme Court that they didn't hear it. And so the decision was then the only way you could change it, and it's still possible, is through legislation in California that would alter the California election code. Just get rid of the word, prohibiting the word activist. And they say that that's forbidden. In other words, I could have said I was a peace advocate. I could have said I was a peace promoter. I could have said I was a peace educator. But you can tell me, Jane, why I could call myself a peace advocate, but not a peace activist.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many people across the country that call Donald Trump a peace something, but a different kind of peace. Well, we'll leave that one for another day. But no, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's just amazing the hypocrisy of it all. And they like to call people lobbyists, and in reality, many people that are classified as lobbyists are actually activists because they are moving towards a goal without any benefit to themselves. Where lobbyists, they are in it for a personal enticement or a personal benefit.
Yeah, in California, you can only have 3 words for your job title. And I said peace activist. And then the next time I ran, my name had been changed. And so it said, sorry, peace activist Rubin. But it didn't list the job title. People thought that I changed my name just for the ballot manipulation. So the word peace activist could be on there.
Yeah.
But that's not true. It was done that I hadn't even thought that I was going to run again.
But it is funny how it works out in life, isn't it?
It is funny, that life's as good as the thing. Just think about it. You can always be grateful for the wonderful good stuff and the good people. Just think about it. Winning fought for 70 years to get the right to vote. I'm sure people won it's not that hard, and we can do it, and we owe it to the people that have come before us that fought for our rights. And yes, there's more rights we need to gain, and we will. I think our democracy will be stronger after going through this crazy time.
Absolutely. And I mean, we can even look at, as you touched on the systemic racism issues or the racism issue. And then, of course, there was the systemic issues. Back at the time when I was down in Los Angeles, I remember the Rodney King riots were still very fresh. I actually went down and toured Florence and Normandy and the surrounding communities that were burnt to the ground. Essentially, some of the small family businesses that they built a life to create were completely decimated. And, if it wasn't for the movements in that era, where would the LAPD be in accountability today? But instead, because of the people that stood up and said, no, it's not going to happen again, and that brought us to where the LAPD is one of the leaders in terms of accountability and transparency. And let's not cover or sugarcoat it. There's still a lot of systemic issues. There's still a lot of corruption or other things within any police force. And I'm not putting this on the LAPD. I'm saying any police force. Just like any industry or any career path, you're going to have the rotten apples. But I think that through activism, like yourself, through the issues of the Rodney King riots, of the George Floyd events, I think that they all culminate to make things improve. What do you think is the message now that, of course, we're seeing what ICE is doing in different cities and how that just totally, negates all of that work and suffering and sacrifice that yourself and others have put into it over the decades, Jerry?
Absolutely. The ICE, oh my God, some of the people that struck parties that wanted to killing people and doing stuff with the Capitol. It's lunacy.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, I know a lot of the good police officers in Santa Monica.
Yeah.
And I went to the police academy. They had like a educational thing. They do it every so often. It's a 10-week thing to learn about what the police are about, what they're doing, and how they do it. And I just thought it so informative. I thought it was wonderful. And it was strange because one of my friends in the police group said, Jerry, what are you doing going to this police academy trip? I thought you were a peace activist,
Yeah.
I thought that was a little simplistic, and, because the police, they were out when we had our big protest, Kings and the one before it, and they're working cooperatively with the organizers.
Yeah.
They're good people, and all I can say is, I talked to them, they stopped by my bucket ticket table, and you're right, there could be bad apples everywhere, and you're not going to find any police officers in Santa Monica who would hit their knee on someone's neck like you just did it to George Floyd. Then they'd be gone, they'd be locked up, and then who knows that happens. So I can tell you, if something's happening, it's bad, you might want to be able to call the police, right?
Well, exactly. And I find that a lot of the people who are totally, trying to defund police or calling them out and just making such a big spectacle of themselves are doing it for the self-promotion, not because there is a legitimate grievance with the police forces, but because they want to get their name in the media. And I think that is doing such a disservice to all of the officers that are out there that are actually risking their lives and doing their job well. Properly and respecting the law. So I really, it's not a job I would ever want, Jerry, especially in today's climate.
No, I can tell you, after going through this police academy, it was wonderful. I might do it again.
That would be amazing. It's something.
I wouldn't have the courage to do what they do. And I'm just saying, so we're, it's really, really important to understand that. I hope that people can really understand that. That these ICE people, they are, in a sinister way, total racism and lunacy has to be stopped. And I think that most of the law enforcement people understand this too, and
Because it's obvious.
And it's obvious. It's a matter of fact. You know, fine. No, I'm pretty far to the left, but you know, in the first swing states, I still remember, and the pleasure of listening to know this. Back in 1974, someone recruited me to run for Congress. And I didn't know anything. I was very naive. And I said, okay. So my name was on the ballot. I was running for Field 27th Congressional District. And B1 Bob Dornan was getting it up there.
Right.
Getting someone named Alfonso Bell was running as the Democrat. And I was recruited to run on the Freedom Party ticket. Okay, so I got 6,000 votes. And then afterwards, my campaign manager told me how the Republicans were funding my entire campaign to take votes away from the Democrats. And I got so upset again because I didn't know that I didn't come in for a year. So that's just the way that is. That's why I got so upset with Ralph Nader in 2000 because of what he did. And I don't think that was a good thing. And I don't think it was smart. And that's it. You know, I feel we have to be smarter and people have the right to do what they want, vote the way they want, and all that. But I didn't understand. Yeah, the electoral college should be abolished. And I think, okay, Hillary Clinton wanted to present that 15 years ago. Now that it's 2028, it's likely the electoral college will still be in place, and it'll be very likely it'll be a Republican or a Democrat. So, I'm urging people to consider how that will play out, especially in the close swing states, and what that means for us to use democratic means to win back our democracy. And that's the way it is. And I hope it happens.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's so important for people to get out and vote. And I think that the last federal election in the U.S. really showed people the importance of getting your voice heard. And just in full disclosure for anybody who doesn't regularly watch or listen to my program, just for full disclosure that yes, I am anti-Trump, but I also think it's important for the viewers and the listeners to understand that I've also taken a step further than most people, especially in the US, are able to do, because as an accredited international journalist through the International Federation of Journalists and other organizations, I have the ability to file an action against Donald Trump and his administration at the international level because I'm not a US citizen. So therefore, I have actually filed a human rights case in terms of his treatment of the media and the way that he is trying to dismantle the media and as a proxy to dismantle democracy. So that case is before the the Inter-Americans Commission on Human Rights. It's a process that will probably drag out for quite some time, but it's at least holding Trump and his lackeys responsible in a form on the international stage. Now, of course, there's no monetary penalty that they can enforce against him, no settlements. It's not that this is being done for any financial gain, because there just isn't any at that level of human rights commissions. But more importantly, it puts it on the official international record, the human rights abuses, and I hope that others will step forward and also file claims of human rights abuses on behalf of the international victims of the Epstein files, on behalf of the Renee Goods and others that have been just their rights trampled on by the Trump administration. So a lot of people are not even aware of the Inter-Americans Organization of American States. So it's important that people are aware of that, Jerry. And I think that that's something that brought you and I together in terms of our friendship many years ago, was the fact that we believe in standing up for those who don't have a voice.
I really applaud you on what you're doing there. I think that's a great thing. I wish you all the best in that. But he is taking away our most precious freedom. Unbelievable. You're not going to let it happen. No way.
There you go. Now, with that said, Jerry, of course, you are known when you go in and you're a thorn in the side of city council there in Santa Monica or elsewhere. You always attend the meetings, but you do so where you thank the staff, even when you disagree with them. You are, you're respectful and you give them the respect so that this way they don't have that power over you saying, oh, he's just crazy. He just comes in and goes crazy on the staff or at the city council meetings and yells and that. You're going with such a calm demeanor and such a respectful tone that it's hard for them to not listen to what you say. And I would like to think that with the 2028 Olympics coming to Santa Monica and the political temperature rising across the U.S., I personally think that your brand of community unity and civility is a viable path for the next generation of activists and for the community in itself. Would you agree with that, or do you think maybe it's a relic of a gentler time?
Well, I'm sure, I urge people to get involved. I could get upset at some one, but for the most part, if someone deserves praise and respect, that's not often given. People usually put forward when they want to complain about something or say something bad. It's always good to acknowledge that there's something good that someone's done, or give them a pat on the back, or give them reinforcement. That's what we tried to do with the activist support circle, and why I want to continue that again. But there's good city staff and good people in Santa Monica. It's really a really good city, and it's talented, and we're going to be as the World Cup comes to the area, and more people will be coming to the beach in Santa Monica. They'll probably drop by my bumper sticker table. If people come by on the promenade, say hello. I see staff people with a little simple hand staff. I estimate over 500,000 times since it started in 1980. And I love doing it. And, I have beach stickers, I have environmental stickers, I have women's issues, pride, music, art, health, education, dump trucks, everything to make a better world.
Absolutely. And throughout the episode, Jerry, I've actually been showing some of the photos that were on your Facebook page, including the Dump Trump and your bumper sticker table that you have quite often out on the promenade. So whether you are Canadian, American, or Brazilian, because this show airs on Roku and other platforms all around the world. If you are heading to Santa Monica on vacation, by all means, if you see Jerry out on the promenade, stop by, say hi, and tell him that you heard his interview, that we learned a lot from his discussion tonight on Primetime Live. And of course, the conclusion here is that, the career of Jerry Rubin of Santa Monica offers a profound lesson in the power of persistent localized activism. By weaving his personal redemption into the civic fabric of his adopted city, he has demonstrated that the most effective protests are often those that require the greatest personal sacrifice. And that's not in terms of violence, it's in terms of endurance. Between his fasts, his legal challenges, and his cultural campaigns against toy guns and for chain reaction, it all stems from a singular philosophy, and that peace is not merely the absence of war, but the presence of disciplined, emphatic, and civil community. So again, Jerry, we've run ourselves out of time here, but it's been just an extreme pleasure to have you on the show tonight. And again, we'll look forward to having you back sometime because, not only have I loved having you on the show, but it's been great to reconnect because it's been a few decades since we spoke last after, more recently. But so it's been amazing. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Well, it was a pleasure and an honor to be on. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jerry. I will let you go as I wrap up the show tonight. All right. Take care. Stay safe. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that was Jerry Rubin in Santa Monica, California. He is not on the text side of the conversation, so we went old-fashioned. We do still have a phone line here in the studio, so That is amazing. As I said, I've known Jerry for decades. We, worked together on some initiatives back in my time when I lived in Santa Monica in Los Angeles, back as a young man. But again, he has been a leader in civil activism within the Santa Monica region, as well as issues that have impacted all Americans and all Californians. So once again, Jerry, we appreciate you being on the show, and we look forward to having you back again. Back in the studio, of course, we always have Jesse. He is our engineer, amazing and amazing producer that looks after us here on the air to make sure that things are running smoothly. So again, thank you, Jesse. This is James Cousineau for Primetime Live here on Jess FM and Jess TV. We look forward to seeing you again next Thursday at 8 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.